Hey friends, welcome to the Entrusted to Lead podcast. I'm your host, Danita Cummins. On today's episode, we're jumping into a teaching topic about innovation. But before you shake your head or click out of the podcast, I challenge you to stay, okay? Do you consider yourself an innovation expert? Maybe, but probably not. Maybe you think the concepts like design or systems thinking are boring or over your head or not something that applies to your daily life at all. But I promise that if you stay tuned to today's show, you'll find out that maybe this topic isn't as complex or as confusing as you think. And you might also see that you're doing it or you're a part of doing it every single day. So if you're struggling to change your organization, I encourage you to stay tuned to today's episode as I share a 5-step framework that I use to help coaching and consulting clients grow their teams. Okay, friends, grab your cup of coffee or favorite snack, and let's get started. Doing things alone is entirely overrated. We all need a community to thrive. And that's why I'm part of an online community of writers and speakers, podcasters, and entrepreneurs called Called Creatives. And I love it. In the years since I joined this community, I've launched new ideas, and I finally executed the dreams that sat on the shelf for years. Seriously. And I was able to do this because of the outstanding group of mentors, exceptional training, and encouraging mastermind groups with my new friends who did and continue to give me invaluable feedback. Oh, and not to mention all the fun, because we have had lots and lots of fun. Have you ever said, I want to write a book? Or do you want to use your voice for the exciting world of podcasting? If so, Called Creatives is your best resource for up-to-the-minute industry training, expert advice, live coaching, and peer support like no other. Best-selling authors and speakers Allie Worthington and Lisa Whittle lead this community with a no-competition mission, and it shows. So join my friends and I in the Called Creative community. Head to my show notes, danitacummins.com/podcast, and click the link to get all the details to join. I promise you won't regret it. I look forward to seeing you in the community and watching you grow. Hey friends, welcome to the show. Today we're tackling a topic near to my heart. As a coach and a consultant, I work with many organizational leaders, helping them to develop strategies and frameworks to change or grow their organizations. And when we launch a new project, the term innovation almost always appears. It seems like everywhere I look, that's the word that I see. Innovation. How many times have you heard it? We need to innovate. The defense industry needs to innovate. The list goes on and on and on. And to an extent, I think, yeah, that's true. As we've seen over the last 2 years, every organization should be agile. It needs to remain flexible, I think, and they need to be able to pivot or adjust as the world or circumstances around us change, right? We've learned that, if nothing else, in real time over the last few years. But why does that matter? If we learned anything from the pandemic or recent events across banking or financial industry, we've learned that agility is critical to organizational success. It is. But I think as leaders, it's really important for us just as people, right? Change is probably the only constant that we can rely on other than our faith. So sometimes I think it's harder to look at it or understand it because innovation seems to be this really elusive concept, kind of like purpose. So I'm here today to help you see that it doesn't have to be that confusing, okay? Organizations can adopt a proven, simple model or framework to help them guide their teams and incorporate innovation into their organizational frameworks. Today, I'm going to share with you my 5-step process that I have found to help understand and break down the elements of innovation. Now, it's not proprietary to me, but I look at a lot of systems and frameworks and processes, as I do with my coaching and consulting business. And this is the one that I found that really clearly breaks it down into an easy, simple way for you to understand and then be able to incorporate that into your organizations or your teams or even just your family or daily life. I'm going to post the steps in the show notes as well, so you can dig deeper into the framework if you prefer. But today, my goal is to just really help you break it down into simple steps so that you can build a systematic framework. That's really the point. Sometimes we look at change or organizational complexity and it gets really confusing really fast. And so if we can apply frameworks to our life, models, systems, processes, it starts to take some of the emotion out of the equation. It's always going to be hard and There's always going to be some element that's confusing or challenging. But I truly believe that if we can take some of the confusion away, if we can just break it down into simple steps, then we can stay in that mindset of innovation and clarity, and we can grow as leaders and as people. So, no matter where your organization sits on the innovation highway today, I believe that you can employ this concept in your daily efforts. Here is the 5-step process. Number 1, understand the problem. Number 2, identify solutions. Number 3, verify those solutions. Number 4, acquire. And number 5, scale. Now, that might not sound super impressive to you, but I truly believe that if organizational leaders can embrace this simple framework, then they can solve almost any problem. All right, so let's dive in. The first step is called understand the problem. It sounds simple, but it's really the hardest and most complex of all of the steps, in my opinion. Because in order to understand the problem, you really have to get inside of it, right? I'm a systems thinker, or so to speak, and I love systems and processes. And over the years, through training and my experiences, I have learned that systems are not always what they seem. If we look at them from the outside, they might seem pretty simple, but that is rarely the case. If you think about any organization that you're trying to change, any process you're trying to stand up, something as simple as like getting all the kids from one event to another event in a weekly schedule is definitely harder to do than it looks. In the book Thinking in Systems, author Donella Meadows uses a great illustration to explain the complexity of systems. The statement is, the behavior of a system cannot be known just by knowing the elements of which the system is made. Simply put, you cannot understand the problem just by knowing the elements contained within it. So for anyone who's trying to change the state of things, moving from current state, where you are today, to future state, where you want to be tomorrow, you must first strive for as best as you can to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay? So number 1 is understand the problem. And then once you think you have a good idea of the root cause, then number 2 is to identify a solution. You can, of course, do this in a billion different ways. And there are tons of models that can help you depending upon what type of solution you're trying to design or what industry you're working in. There are agile frameworks and Scrum and other things. But the point is that in this step, we just need to be intentional about trying to identify solutions. We're not validating them. We're not acquiring them. We are just simply trying to identify what solutions could potentially solve the problem, right? Discipline. And then once we identify them, then we move to step 3, which is to validate them. And this is where I think most organization fails because we rush straight to acquire the widget or stand up the new project without giving ourselves the time to look objectively at the solution to see if we think it will actually solve the problem. And here's a real life example. Recently, I was asked to come in and provide consulting for an organization, a faith-based organization, in their strategic planning. And this organization wants to stand up new ministry, new programs, new something. The community is changing, and so they want to be ready to be able to provide the needs as the community grows. All great things. But I asked them, what problem are you trying to solve? What's wrong with the programs that you already have? What's wrong with your ministry? What's wrong with your worship? What's wrong with the programs that you're already offering? And so we spent some time over the last few weeks really diving into that and really understanding current state, what the organization currently does, what they do well, right? What programs they're already offering, what the impact is of those programs, and really understanding the problem before we move to actually start standing up a program or acquiring new solutions, building new playgrounds, or, starting a new youth ministry. So I think that's really important because sometimes we find out as organizational leaders that there's not actually a problem, or the problem that we thought we were solving is not the problem at all. So once we've done that, understand the problem, number 1. Number 2, identify solutions. Number 3, validate those solutions. Then we can move to step 4, which is to acquire the solution. And then when we get to step 5, which is scaling, that's a whole different game, friend. So scaling's not linear, right? Remember that old adage that says what got us here won't get us there. Scaling increases complexity. It opens up new holes in the system, new inputs, new outputs. All of those things affect the results. So I just want you to consider this. When you're launching a new program or standing up a new line of effort, the systems and processes that you used for one customer will definitely need to change when you roll that solution out to 5 or 50 or 500. Okay? It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're standing up a nonprofit outreach center, or if you're a church launching a new campus, or a business trying to launch a new product or join a new market. It doesn't matter. Scaling is a completely different ballgame with a completely different set of rules. Okay. So my one word of advice for today is that you need to find experts in your field or people who have done that thing before for as much as you can so that they can help you scale and develop the keys to success. There are 100 different ways to do that. And it's just really important for you to understand that acquiring a solution, number 4, and scaling the solution, number 5, 2 completely different things, right? So think of them in that mindset whenever you're looking at your organizational change. But I think the greatest tool for today for you as leaders who are striving to grow your organization is to remember that you might be trying to do something that's never been done before, okay? Or at least at a minimum, it's something that you have probably never done before. And so you've got to give yourself some grace. It's okay. As soon as you walk out the door and start down the path, something will change. Something will go wrong and something will fail. When I served in the special operations community for a short time, I worked with a team of people who were trying to stand up new programs. And there was a meeting I remember one time, and I sat with the leader of the program, and he was really passionate about this problem that we were trying to solve. And it was really hard and really frustrating. And I remember looking at it one day and I said, no one has ever done this before. Like, you're trying to do something that's never been done before. Okay. So it's okay that it's hard. It's okay that all the answers don't seem to come. It's okay. And we're going to learn a lot of things. We're going to fail. We're going to fall down. And we did. We failed and we fell down, but we kept getting back up. So I think that's the greatest thing. I often say that failure is our greatest teacher. And so just remember that. Focus on the process. Stay humble. And I'm confident that your teams and organizations will grow and have a positive impact in the world around you. Remember that as leaders, the world needs us to be healthy and strong. And that includes us being agile and being able to adapt to the world around us, the world that seems to constantly be changing. And leadership starts with you. So you can even apply this framework to yourself. Think about that in your current life and what problems or challenges that you're having. And maybe sometimes you can take this simple framework and you can apply it to the problem that you are trying to solve, and it will take some of the emotion out of it. I think, at least for me, that's the thing that I've learned to do. If I can take all of the confusion out, lay it on the table and get it as flat as possible, then I can start to make decisions and I can start to see things a little bit more clearly. So I want you to think about that this week. That's your homework. If there's a problem or challenge that you're facing personally, or if there's a challenge that your organization or your team is facing, try this 5-step framework and see if it will help you navigate that problem with greater clarity and confidence. And just remember, friend, there will always be another problem to solve, okay? Perfection is a fallacy if you haven't already learned that. So finding a way to clarify your problem-solving process is a key to building a thriving organization. I hope these tools help you and your team navigate the challenges that you find across your organizations. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So I hope that you have an amazing day. Keep showing up, even when it hurts, because you matter and the world needs you. I'll see you later, friend. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Entrusted to Lead podcast. This podcast was brought to you by our amazing producers at Wildfire Creative Company. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please hop over to iTunes or Spotify, subscribe, rate it, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. And make sure you come back. We'll talk more about the essence and elements of leadership on the first and third Thursday of every month. If you enjoyed today's show, you can head over to danitacummins.com/podcast and gain access to additional free resources. But make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so you can stay up to date on the latest shows. Have an amazing day. Talk to you soon.